We're back. Welcome to episode 210 of the Red Dirt Agronomy Podcast. I am Dave Deacon, and we got a pretty fun episode for you. We're talking all things Oklahoma wheat with Oklahoma State University Extension small grain specialist, Dr. Amanda Silva. Dr. Silva has some great information on the current wheat crop and talks with us about a couple of areas of research that she's working on that will help Oklahoma wheat producers in the future. She also tells us about her recent trip to Paris, France for an international meeting on wheat production. By the way, you will be able to find all the information that she talks about on our website, reddirtagronomy.com. As always, we start with a quick trip around the table for an introduction to the dream team of dirt and everything that grows from it. Let's start with Oklahoma State University Extension cropping system specialist.
In bad years of wheat, especially bad fall years, we get so many questions on oats, spring oats particularly. And now it's like, we got all this tons of great fall pasture. I mean, are we going to get any discussion on fall oats? I'm sure we will.
Dr. Josh Lofton. Next to him is an extension ag engineer with Oklahoma State University.
They're not looking at that variety to protect them. On the low side, they're saying, I have higher expectations for my wheat now.
Dr. Randy Taylor. And of course, next to him is Oklahoma State University Extension Precision Nutrient Management Specialist.
How many of our acres now have crop rotation? And now they have crop rotation, they're looking at new lines of corn, soy, and sorghum every single year. So now they're used to it in the other crops. So now they're more inclined to bring it in on their wheat side to look for upgrade.
Dr. Brian Arnell. We're happy to announce that this episode of the Red Dirt Agronomy Podcast is brought to you by the Oklahoma Wheat Commission and the Oklahoma Wheat Growers Association. Both organizations are focused on the growth of the Oklahoma wheat crop, with the Oklahoma Wheat Commission dedicated to growing markets for Oklahoma wheat around the globe, and the Oklahoma Wheat Growers Association on growing the voice of the Oklahoma wheat producer. You can find more information about the Oklahoma Wheat Commission and the Oklahoma Wheat Growers Association over on our website, reddirtagronomy.com. Now, without further ado, let's get to talking wheat across Oklahoma and the rest of the southern Great Plains. You are listening to the Red Dirt Agronomy Podcast. Do we start off with a crop update with her? Or do you want to take off?
Let's go ahead and
go to the expert.
Yeah, straight to the specialist.
Yeah, sure.
Our esteemed guest and expert in all things wheat and small grains, Dr. Amanda Silva. Thank you for joining us on the podcast.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, in the time, and we'll dive into this a little bit later, but in the time that we last recorded, you've been all over the planet and talking with other highly intelligent folks of grain knowledge and wheat knowledge, and you guys have been trading trade secrets and such, and we'll talk about that later. But watch this. I'm going to tie it back in here. So what's happening in Oklahoma wheat?
Oh, yeah. So we are, I think we are in a good shape overall. We are still planting in the program because we have some late planting research happening. But today we are cutting some forage samples, and it looks great. Overall, I think our wheat is looking good.
So when it comes to cutting those samples, do you cut them on a certain date in the cycle, or do you just wait till it gets to a certain height and then cut? We
try to kind of cut in a time that it would be a time where producers would let the cattle out, but usually it's any time after Thanksgiving we will cut it if conditions are good. So and what we are trying to do is just to get differences, to see differences among varieties, to see if we can capture that.
In driving by your test plots over here on the agronomy farm on the way in, there's some pretty good forage that you guys are pulling off.
Yes, it's amazing. We are very excited this year. We can actually use a forage cutter, I guess, to do that, because we've been doing it by hand, especially last year that it was so small, we barely had any. So yeah, it looks great.
Are you doing replications of this trial across the state, or is this just primarily a Stillwater event?
So this will be here in Stillwater and Chickasha, and we'll have first hollow stem also measured in those plots, and sometime in the spring we'll have the results out for producers to see it.
That's great. And of course, with that, there is the excitement for, we're talking about dual purpose wheat right now, but there is that excitement for the cattle producers because they haven't had this opportunity in a long time to have this much forage. And what varieties do you have planted right now that you're actually seeing the hype on?
We have, I think, I don't even know, maybe almost 50 varieties out there.
Wow.
Yeah, in Chickasha we may have around 25.
Right.
I can't remember exactly the numbers. So we have the same varieties that are entered in the variety trials for yield. They also get measurement of forage, forage growth. Yeah.
That's great. And what has been the biggest contributor to that? I know in my mind I'm going to say rainfall, but is it rainfall? Is it just the soil, being a friend to the wheat this year?
Yes, the moisture is the most important component, and
friendly soil.
We're going to go back to that friend soil. The soil's
Healthy, friendly soil.
friendly.
I was trying to not look at Ryan.
Well, what I mean is, just having the nutrients there and being friendly to the seed. Of course, that's what I mean.
You have been around your teacher wife a little bit too much.
I have. Yeah. And we just got back from Disney World, so it's
that's
happy
right.
seeds running around and singing "It's a Small World After All." But is it the soil? This is how I should have asked it. Is it the soil conditions, or is it the moisture, or the nutrients that are in the soil that are helping?
I think here would be moisture.
Right.
I think that's the most limiting factor for us. And then for the differences that we see among varieties, that could be the water use efficiency of the differences among them. And then nutrient, of course, it's important, and the ability of those varieties to utilize the nutrients that are available. But this year, moisture is this year and all years, I guess.
So much like the OSU football team, our best years are
we're going there.
1945, 2011, and next year. And here we are in the next year, and it's actually holding true that our wheat crop is off to a good start this year.
Yes, it is. It's very exciting. Yeah.
I like she was talking about how she's excited they can use the forage harvester for the first time in her career because the wheat's been so small that they've had to do it by hands with scissors.
Wow.
Sewing clippers. So now they could take a machine out there and worried the crew's like, you want to go back and clip? And the crew's like, no, we want the machine. This is better. Don't worry. We'll make it work.
I'm all for mechanization.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Most agronomists are not. But, so you mentioned water use efficiency maybe on some of the varieties. Do you have a way to measure that, or is that part of your analysis?
We have not measured that, but there is a way. Yeah. There is a way, especially it would be more accurate if we had monitors in the field. We don't, but we have above ground biomass that maybe that's a good sign of the ability of those varieties to utilize the water that is available out there.
Well, some of the fun stuff that we're doing, and Amanda hasn't seen this data yet because I'm making sure the data's right. But Amanda, we took the Gallagher, Green Hammer, IBA, double stop into the growth chamber to look at roots. So we're putting plants under nitrogen deficiency and non-nitrogen deficiency to see, do we change phenological structure? Do we change how the roots look? Because in cotton we've seen we can. So interesting enough, IBA and Gallagher, in cotton we can put a seed in this basically 1.5 tall tube and grow it for about 4 weeks.
Wow.
The same thing was the goal for wheat. Gallagher and IBA were through the bottom of the tubes on all plots within 2 weeks.
Wow.
Very
So
fast
massive,
root growth.
fast rooted growth. Interesting thing, and the nitrogen didn't change it. Like very little impact about the nitrogen. But Green Hammer specifically, and double stop a little bit, Green Hammer specifically, we saw in the high nitrogen concentration, the roots were extremely short. only 10 out of potential 30 centimeters. That's all the growth they had was 10 centimeters long. In the non-fertilized, they were 30 centimeters long for 2 weeks. The mass, they just weighed it yesterday, the mass is almost equal. So they are not even changing the amount of root that they're growing.
So the mass of the roots.
Mass of the roots are the same, but they're searching. So Green Hammer tripled its root length. Not amount, though, because that's what we've looked at. Is it a change in how much we're creating, or is it a change in just the phenological structure of that root? And so first run, we're absolutely going to go back in as soon as we can and try to get another run to duplicate that. But really seeing this in effect, efficient effect, like we've talked about on in a droughty, or you plant corn and it's kind of dry, the corn will seek out moisture and chase moisture. If it's really wet, the roots stay shallow. Well, this is we call them tree pots, so they're only about 2 inches in diameter. They're about 12 to 14 inches tall. Put a seed in pure playground sand, and the water is underneath, and the water has all the nutrients but nitrogen, or low and high nitrogen. And the water is still able to percolate up, like we germinate with over-the-top water, and then it seeks out. And so it's really interesting to see this. We're done in about 2 to 4 weeks and turning this around and seeing the impact of nitrogen deficiency versus adequate nitrogen on root structure. And it looks to be very, very varietal specific.
So what you're saying is that when you have nitrogen, then maybe Green Hammer didn't put a lot of deeper growth. So would that influence how you manage it, like the timing of application?
Absolutely.
Maybe?
Yeah. So, what really intrigued me is I told him, because it's my Brazilian team that did it. So, trying to be nice in Portuguese, basically telling them, like, are you right? Because they had really short roots and really longer roots, and the difference having the same mass, meaning the quantity is the same. So they've gone back and remeasured. It's like we have the same amount of root mass, but in the high nitrogen, it just set in the surface. It is very, very concentrated in that soil surface. But if you look at the nitrogen deficient, you got a couple major root systems going straight down, and we're growing 27 centimeters in 2 weeks. Wow. Versus 7 centimeters in 2 weeks with nitrogen. So we're looking at now, how can we take that to how can we take it out past 2 weeks? And so we're looking at, we'll probably bring you in, looking at aeroponics, creating basically mist chambers, where we look at, and Texas A&M, I can't remember who it was, Texas A&M has done some of this stuff, and they're able to take cotton out to boll load.
Wow.
And so we're talking full plants in a greenhouse. Basically, you put it in an enclosed chamber, and you have spray nozzles, and their setup was spray 7 seconds every 7 minutes.
Wow.
And just kind of mist keeps that root in that area under moisture.
I was totally wrong. I remembered Aeroponics as a band in the 90s. I had their cassette tape. It was totally different. I'm so wrong about that. Yours is much more interesting than the band in the 90s.
Sounds like you need another podcast.
Right.
Did you just let him go in the middle of this?
he must be stopped. Well, that's interesting. So, just to piggyback on what you're talking about, this chamber that you've built, has shown great things for the wheat, but has a great future for you.
So we've not built the chambers yet. We've actually talked and it's perfect for this podcast. Basically, some undergrads at Texas A&M are building them from extra supplies. Basically, Amazon, they've gone into excess property where they have all the plexiglass from COVID days. So they got excess property and bought some stuff off of Amazon and started building these for their prof. I guess they're master's level. So I said, come up to Stillwater. I'll pay you for a weekend up in Stillwater and might have some runaround money to spend some time on the strip. But just come make these since you're already successful in a system.
That's cool.
And so hoping to bring that in. What we're doing right now is kind of we're just small pots, but like I said, we're limited on time. On cotton, we can get to about 4 weeks of growth, which is not much past 2 true leaves. And on wheat, we were really thinking we'd go 4 weeks on wheat. and then freaking IBA's poking out of the bottom of this tube in 2 weeks, and we've got 2 inches past the tube shoot in 2 weeks. And so it was interesting that Gallagher and IBA both had some of the longest root production of both of those varieties, and very little impact and differences across nitrogen rate.
That's amazing.
Yeah, very interesting. And from the data we have, that we see IBA being one with the highest nitrogen utilization efficiency. So that could explain that. So basically, it's able to produce more yield with lower amount of nitrogen, and maybe the ability to scavenge deeper. I don't know.
So any updates on the NUE work? Because Dr. Silva and I have been doing this NUE project almost since she's been here.
Yeah,
basically.
So we have 8 site years now.
Yeah, it's growing, it's changing, it's morphing around. That's where the growth chamber. Share with us a little bit of some of the results, because I haven't even seen the last year or two results.
Yeah, so I think this is it's gonna be the last year. So we have the Abiola, the master student, working on it. And basically what we are doing there, we selected all these 4 varieties that Brian was just mentioning: IBA, Gallagher, Green Hammer, and Double Stop, where they have very similar yield levels, but they differ in protein. So we are trying to understand what are the differences in the way that these varieties utilize nitrogen during the season. And for now, what we are seeing is looking at different plant components and how they accumulate nitrogen in different plant components, and how they utilize nitrogen, especially later in the season. And one of the things that we are finding, it's this higher nitrogen utilization efficiency of IBA, and the greater ability of Green Hammer to hold up high yields and also high protein. And so we wanted to understand what's happening. And one of the things that we are finding is the ability of Green Hammer to continue uptaking nitrogen, especially later in the season. And now I'm very interested in the root data, because all we've been looking is above ground. And so we look at leaf nitrogen accumulation for Green Hammer. It's able to sustain that leaf green for longer in the season, and that is contributing probably to the grain protein. And one of the things that we see with IBA when we compare protein with Green Hammer, it's lower amount, but that is because IBA is so efficient in utilizing nitrogen to produce yields that is actually dilutes the protein in the grain. Because when you look at the functionality of protein for IBA is very good. It's just the total amounts that it needs a little bit more nitrogen to increase the total amount of protein. So
over the years, it's amazing that we're still talking about Gallagher and IBA all these years later, because these are varieties that are still being used and are still very hardy. Do we see any in the variety trials that are kind of, in that same vein, ones that may be the next Gallagher or IBA that you've seen, that maybe you've been watching over the past couple of years that have that possibility of being a longevity variety?
It's so hard to say, because I feel like nowadays we have a very, a much faster turnaround of varieties. So every year, if you look at the variety trials, we always have new varieties coming, not only from OSU, but from everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like it will become more difficult to have a variety that's going to stay for 10 years or, maybe 3 years, and then you want to change. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Right. It's just because we have so many. But we do have in the trials varieties that they show that stability, I think, that people were looking for, especially when they were growing Gallagher or Double Stop. If you look at Double Stop, and I think one of the main reasons people grow it's because it's just so stable. You know how it's going to behave, right? Even if it may not reach the highest yield in comparison to others, but it's very stable. Like you look at across years, drought, wet, it's a variety that is very stable. But yeah, it's difficult to say, but we do have some in the trials that I would say that has that higher nitrogen use efficiency
Right.
and stability, but also we have newer varieties with higher yield potential than we used to.
Well, so that's an interesting thing. I feel like back a long time ago, we moved varieties out because something happened to it.
Right.
Like Jagger would have still been grown today if it.
It still is. Don't lie to yourself. It's still grown today.
It would have still been the number one wheat grown in the state of Oklahoma if what was it? Because it was rust that came through that caused an issue with Jagger. And so they moved on and kind of went down that path. Do we see that same thing happen? Like it's those big varieties, is it a main thing that pushes a variety out of the way, or is it we just get new varieties that are just better at doing what our older ones are doing, and so we've moved that process down?
Definitely can happen, especially with rust.
Yeah.
That by the time the breeder is done, and by the time they release, we may get a new race of the disease coming in the state that just wipe out that variety, and people don't want to manage for that so severely. I'm
going to throw this back to Josh. So think about this. How many of our acres now have crop rotation? And now they have crop rotation. They're looking at new lines of corn, soy, and sorghum every single year. So now they're used to it in the other crops. So now they're more inclined to bring it in on their wheat side to look for upgrade. Other than I'm a continuous wheat farmer.
Well, so that's kind of what I was going with, or we've moved into a more, I'll call it a Midwest mindset of I'm looking for the variety that now I like Gallagher, or I like Double Stop, or I like something like that, and it still does fine for me, but I'm looking for that next generation where I feel like 20 years ago we were fine sticking with where we were as long as it was working. I feel like they've gotten this, growers in the state have gotten this corn soybean mentality because those varieties don't hang on more than a year or two,
Right.
and then we've got a new, bigger and better.
Yeah, and maybe that's it. That's a shift on the mentality and how conservative people are nowadays. I guess also would depend on the year
Yeah.
and how profitable that can be. But we could see, I don't know. I think we are seeing more in the state people being more willing to manage a little bit more the wheat, even if they are in a dual purpose low input system or something like that, and that can play a role too.
Yeah.
If even though they're willing to manage, but that also includes that selecting a variety that they can push for yield, and that would require some additional management, but they could see some return on that too.
So I think that's what that management is the really key thing that you just brought up is people and so I think now when they're not looking at that variety to protect them on the low side, they're saying I have higher expectations for my wheat now.
Yes.
And so that's the group that may be looking, again, for a quicker turnover in varieties and saying I need something that's really going to let me manage it and respond to that.
And respond to the management.
Yes.
Yeah. I think so. And that's what we try to do with our trials, that we've changed some in the variety trials, like including intensive management trials. Instead of just comparing fungicide with or without, we compare as a system, because usually it's going to be a system. So producers that are planting maybe on a seeds per acre, that are selecting varieties that will respond, they're willing to add a little bit more of nitrogen, fungicide. So it's a system in general. Yeah.
In a year like this, where we actually have the forage capability to whatever wheat we have, do you think that we'll have more of a a weed pressure moving forward, because we actually did have some rainfall, and there could be some competition. Do you think that could be an issue, especially with maybe the later planted wheat?
Yes, we are still seeing some. We are managing for it, but having a bigger crop out there, it makes the wheat way more competitive, right? Than with our late planting. Yes, it's small. It's going to take a while until it builds that canopy. It could be an issue. Another thing that this year we didn't see was actually fall armyworms.
Really?
Yeah. At least I haven't heard anything. I talked.
Very sporadic.
Yeah. So I was happy, surprised, but afraid, with the good forage we had out there. So.
Well, that was the surprising thing, because I think, didn't I tell you in like August we had a corn it was the end of the summer last year, or end of the spring, right at the start of the summer. We had a class project out here, and the students were digging up armyworms. I mean, like there was hundreds of them. And then they just went away and just disappeared. And we haven't really seen a big flush. Well, God bless.
We better stop saying it.
But it's shocking, because that's always the last couple years. That's been a major issue, especially for our forage stuff, when it's been so minimal. Forage production anyway. They had something that was causing an issue. Taking out that forage even more, but.
Look at what happens when we have moisture and a couple cold fronts move through that can drop that. Yeah. One thing we do have to worry about that we would be watching for, since we actually have moisture now, is things like tan spot and powdery mildew, and our disease lush canopy, our disease complex are much likely to be pushing this spring and even this fall. I haven't sprayed green up or jointing fungicide in 3 years, when prior to that it was I would do it every time just to make sure I had that taken care of.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point that we may need to manage.
That is a question I was going to ask, with the potential of a full-blown El Nino. I mean, usually that means in this area, and I've talked to different researchers across the country. One of the guys I talked to at Auburn, he said, well, we really don't want an El Nino because that means drought in a certain part of the state. And I'm thinking, in Oklahoma, we want an El Nino because that means, rain. We need rain. But in this part of the world, with the potential of a stronger El Nino, more moisture, varying temperatures, is that going to be good for the wheat crop overall? Let me re-ask that question. In years past, whenever we've had an El Nino, has it proven to be a good thing for Oklahoma producers?
I'd put it's better for the Oklahoma cattle producers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it's going. I don't think it'll drive our grain yields massively. In fact, we're looking at data right now, and shockingly, the number one driver for winter wheat grain yield on the studies that we've done on the fertility side for the last 20 years is April rainfall.
Okay.
That's the best predictor of yield. So, this moisture now, it's just helping the dual purpose and the graze out and getting that forage that we've not had in the fall in at least the last 2 or 3 years.
Right.
And it should help our rangeland. So now we're moving off. We're not relying so heavily on our fall pasture. We're able to move off fall pasture quicker onto our winter wheat pasture. Our range needs probably 5 years of rest, but at least needs a month or two of rest, which it hasn't had in years. So this is as good for the entire Oklahoma cattle and forage production system as anything else.
I mean, and stored moisture is always good. I mean,
right.
It's how well we store it, and what April brings can be a lot of things. So I want to go back to the variety thing, and not really variety thing, but we've had a lot of discussion, and I think I'm hearing more and more. Brian, you can tell me I'm wrong, because I'm sure you're
wrong.
Thank you. We're hearing a lot of interest in softs and whites, and then miscellaneous small grains, oats and barleys and all those kind of things. I mean, is that making a strong push this year, or because we've had such a great wheat year, everybody just kind of put wheat in the ground because it's kind of been such a good year this year?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't received many questions about it. I did for spring wheat, the softs, yes, and especially in the eastern part of the state, but yeah, I've received questions about the spring wheat and whether that would be feasible here or not, and things like that. But I don't know. Have you?
I've
like what
I've
is
heard
your
less than years past.
Okay.
So actually, in the Northeast group, I've talked about they're upping their hard red acres. Yeah. They were almost 100% soft, and this year they're upping hard red. But that price flipped on them, and I think that it's that ratio of soft to hard.
True.
And so historically they had that price benefit where they could get more bushels and had that win, but hard red had a better price, and so they could sacrifice a few bushels and get that upsell of hard. Even before, I think they were getting more for soft before too.
Yeah, and the yields were just
outrageous.
And
we were 120, 125, 130 in Ottawa County last year.
Yeah. So in bad years of wheat, especially bad fall years, we get so many questions on oats.
Yeah, true.
Spring oats particularly. And now it's like, we got all this tons of great fall pasture. I mean, are we going to get any discussion on fall oats? I'm sure we will, but I mean, I just wonder if that's going to be lower again this year, and if the interest in some of the other ones, like I think 1 or 2 years ago, I mean, it sounds like everybody wanted to try some barley. For some odd reason, wheat wasn't good. The barley was what what folks wanted to try. So I didn't know if you've been hearing that, around the countryside.
No, not very much, but I think that's what it is. It depending on the conditions. Then, if it's a really bad year for the wheat, then we just start looking for options. Yes, alternatives. But especially this year, I haven't received any questions on the other ones.
Well, and I know last year, I was driving back from the Panhandle with Raiden, and his family plants a lot of rye, and there was issues getting seed. Has that been an issue this year, or are we pretty? Have we heard issues on rye seed, or are folks even planting rye? It's just wheat's so abundant, and
maybe it's being quiet because. I don't know.
Well, we get these two small grain people around here, and then they don't even answer our questions.
People need to call me more than. I don't know. I haven't received questions about that.
No one's talking to her.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard anything, so.
No, yeah.
Very little chatter on that one.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of that comes, the rye seed, even folks that were trying to do cover crops last year, they just couldn't find rye. I mean,
it's
just non-existent. But I mean, even our folks that were planting rye for forage and stuff like that, they just couldn't find it. The seed was few and far between. But I didn't know if that kind of played itself out, or if there's just so much wheat around that they're just going to plant the wheat.
So, Randy, what did your farmer plant? I saw the wheat's up. This time he planted his wheel track, so that's a win.
Yeah, it's sweet. Yeah, but he had a kid drilling the wheat, and he was driving around, but there was nothing coming out most of the time. So there's some gaps in it, but all the stuff that got planted really. That's what I was going to ask Amanda about. Is she's doing variety selection for very poor managers, so it's there's some wheat there, but you're bringing up the other crops, because probably looking at planting some oats for hay on part of it, just not to graze it, but and then get that cut off early enough to go in with some beans and some things, so.
Well, Amanda, so it's December 6th today?
Yes.
What are you looking at? I know folks that still haven't planted because some moisture came in, so there's still some open acres.
Mm-hmm.
What are we telling people to do? I mean, we have December planted as far as population, as far as do we have to switch varieties now? What's looking like for open ground that they still want to put wheat in?
Yeah, so... And that's part of the things that we are still looking in the program. Yes, increasing seeding rate is usually a recommendation, even though our data has not shown differences in yield. I wouldn't recommend to not increasing it yet, based on the data we have. And then we are looking for that short season variety. So. If you're planting this late, maybe play a little bit with the maturity of the variety you have, because that's something we actually saw in our data that makes a huge influence, especially later in the season. If you plant a very late maturing variety late in the season, then you expose that to that heat in June.
Yeah.
yeah, and phosphorus, you would recommend that. So increasing seeding rate, looking at, I'm forgetting one, seed treatment also. So seeds will be sitting there in cold soil, so that's a good plan too. But in this research that we are doing, so this year we have 3 on-farm studies. And one is in Northeast Oklahoma with Brent Rendell, and he's planting there 5 seeding rates, so 3 different planting dates and 2 varieties. So those 2 varieties are one that is our check for optimal planting date, and then the short season variety. So we'll be comparing those 2 maturity groups, very different maturity groups on different planting dates. And then we'll have very similar trials in Kildare and Apache also. So hopefully with those trials we can do some build up some database here for us in Oklahoma and see the impact of that interaction of planting date and seeding rate, and whether we need to manage or we need to change anything on our recommendations, especially for late planting.
Are those field scale plots or are those small plots?
So for Northeast Oklahoma will be more like field scale. He's actually doing with his equipment, and then the other 2 will be us doing with our little equipment, but 3 to 4 replications. So it should be very well representative.
Is there a laser up on the ceiling? Sorry, Josh. Didn't mean to distract you.
So I'll do this since Josh has a laser.
You just want me to introduce this. So.
Well, I mean, since you were already doing it in other crops and now we're doing it in wheat, I thought you could. So we've been doing TAPS research, which is on-farm, basically, well, I can't remember, testing agricultural products in cotton and corn and sorghum performance in those 3 crops, and we're now taking it into wheat. And so I was going to let Amanda talk a little bit about the wheat TAPS, which is, it's not new for OSU or anything, but wheat done in wheat-wise it is.
Yeah, that's a very exciting program that we have going on this year. So have different teams competing with each other, looking at different management practices in wheat, and Brian is managing it.
Yeah.
Well, the fertility especially. So we've planted the plots here in Stillwater, and it's a very exciting opportunity for us to learn from each other, and you know, as far as everybody selecting their varieties, what they would plant, and the seeding rate, and nitrogen and fungicide. So we'll have different things happening in the season, in those management decisions being decided during the growing season from stakeholders in the state. So yeah.
Yeah, and so they pick their variety, they pick their population, they pick fertility, fungicide, not insecticide, and herbicide we control across the board.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so the interesting thing is we have standards. So they get to pick their variety and their population. We're putting a standard variety at that population. So we're testing not just their management, but how did that management influenced by variety, which is very similar to what we've done on all the other TAPs, having that check. And so it's fun. We got in the ground a little late, but it's got moisture, so that's a win.
Yeah, and even it was a little late. It was like November the 13th or something. But every plot is exposed to the same conditions, so it should still be able to see differences in the choices there. So it's a very exciting program that we have. So the teams are the Wheat Improvement Team here at OSU.
Rock on.
We have Oklahoma Wheat Commission, Oklahoma Wheat Growers, 2 teams that are formed by farmers, one in Northeast and one group in North Central Oklahoma, and then Extension.
We're putting Western Extension against Eastern Extension. So Pew's running a team. And Bashong's running a team.
Yeah, and then K-State also is participating.
We allowed Dr. Lalato to drop in. And of course, he's the most complicated. He has to add all the things.
Well, I mean, why not?
Why not?
Just Romulo.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's exciting. Yeah, this will be good. That's something also happening here at OSU, and people should be watching for.
Well, and the exciting thing is watching everybody compete in the high jump and the tug of war, and then the 50K. Is it the 50K? Yeah.
I mean, you want to run a 50K?
That's backwards.
I'm not run a 50K.
Well, but before we wrap it up, I want to ask about. I kind of alluded to it back before the happy soil comment. You're on some pretty interesting teams and committees around the world. You were recently in Paris, I believe.
Yes.
So let's kind of dive into why were you in Paris and what you were. What you brought to the table, and then what you learned.
Yeah, so I was selected as the early career scientist in the wheat initiative, nitrogen use or nutrient use efficiency expert working group. So in that group, they have different researchers working on nutrient use efficiency in wheat. So it's a very focused team in focused, I mean, on the wheat crop.
Right.
Yeah.
What she's saying is there's no soil scientist.
No. Actually, I think there are, right?
I don't know.
Just not you.
Just not.
Yeah. So no, but that was very nice. So basically, we were discussing projects that we are doing. So one of the presentations that I gave there was actually showing how we are measuring that here. So not only in my program, so representing what we are doing as OSU. So what Brian is doing, especially with Dr. Carver on that time of selecting a variety with high nitrogen use efficiency, for example. So they have a trial at Tipton where when Carver releases a variety, he already have some information on the efficiency of those varieties as far as the use of nitrogen. And so I presented some of that work, some of the physiology work that we are also doing here together, Brian and I, looking at the varieties that I was just mentioning and how they use nutrient during the season. And I was representing basically the U.S. I was the only one from the U.S. there. And we had researchers from the U.K., from France, from Australia, from all over the world. So it was also good to start building collaborations and also to discuss some ideas on how we can improve research to improve nitrogen use efficiency in wheat.
That's amazing.
Your take on when you came back after that, did you feel like OSU is behind with the crowd or at the lead of some of this work?
I think we are with the crowd on the management practices. I think there are some things that we can do that they've done in France as far as utilizing the database we have to learn more about the varieties, about the management practices here that we do. On the physiology side, I think we are good, in good shape. I think we are heading to a very how can I say, in the right way, in the right direction, and yeah, there are not many groups doing all this work that we do, tracking nitrogen during the growing season. So I think we'll have very good information coming out of our program here.
So what's coming down the pipe? What's the next step in the small grain program? Like, what are you looking forward to in the next year or two?
Yeah, so we'll wrap up this research looking at the physiology of nitrogen uptake in wheat. We'll continue working on best management practices, especially for late planting wheat. We want to have that information for when producers need. Like Brian said, we still have a lot of people planting. And the more I talk to people with farmers, the more I learn how that is important for our state, and I think it will become even more with other crops coming into the rotation, with people wanting to diversify their system. So and that's why we are increasing our experiments with planting date. And I think will be those two areas looking at nitrogen use efficiency and best management practices. So.
Well, Dr. Amanda Silva, thank you so much for coming in and talking with us and getting us up to date on the current situation in the Oklahoma wheat crop. We always love having you on. And how much longer until the baby shows up?
Thank you for having me. Baby can be here anytime. So.
Yeah.
Actually, it's true.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So by the time you air this, I don't know.
well, maybe we ought to wrap this up.
Made it through the podcast
Yeah,
so
yeah.
far.
So far.
Yeah, we were afraid that maybe I wouldn't make it, but yeah, I think I'm still around.
She's good still.
Well, if that's the case, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Thanks for coming in.
But thank you. It's always good to be here, and thanks for the invitation.
Thank you for listening in on this conversation of the Red Dirt Agronomy Podcast. And if you'd like to join the next discussion, send us an email, podcast@reddirtagronomy.com, or send us a tweet. Our handle is RedDirtAg. We'd like to thank Oklahoma State University's Dr. Amanda Silva for joining us on this episode of the podcast today. And of course, we'd also like to thank the Oklahoma Wheat Commission and the Oklahoma Wheat Growers Association for sponsoring this episode of the Red Dirt Agronomy Podcast. You can learn more about these two organizations and what they're doing for the Oklahoma wheat crop over at our website, reddirtagronomy.com. For Dr. Josh Lofton, Dr. Brian Ernell, and Dr. Randy Taylor, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on a podcast, Dave Deacon. And of course, we want to thank you for listening. The proceeding is a copyrighted production of Ag Now Media, LLC 2023. And yes, all rights are reserved.